Hello there, I'm Natasha Koo, the founder of Feminine Space, and welcome to day 9 of this beautiful 30-day Redefining Womanhood series. And today we're going to be talking all about surrendering. We'll answer the questions like, how do we surrender? What is surrendering? And my personal experiences of the transformational power that surrendering can bring. So I'm so excited to share with you, so let's get straight to it. Surrendering. It might bring up something really funny within you because it's definitely not a feeling, an action that I was really comfortable with even a few years ago. Because surrendering has an element of letting go. And I want to make a clear distinction here that surrendering doesn't mean giving up, right? Surrendering to me means more letting go and kind of melting into the moment, melting into what's here and letting go of resistance. So to me, giving up means that you kind of disconnect yourself from your heart desires, from your life force, from what it is that you truly wish to express and embody, while letting go means kind of, it's as if you let go of the tension within your hand. You begin to melt away what's no longer needed, and you begin to free up space, become more open, and you begin to flow with kind of the rhythm of life and what is already there. So I want to make that distinction because sometimes surrendering and vulnerability has a really bad rep. But in this video, I want to show you the true meaning of surrendering. Not as a concept, not as a verb, but as something that I've personally experienced for myself, and also something that I see so beautifully unfolding in my clients. Because surrendering is a very feminine type of energy. It has this element of allowing, accepting, and being. And those are the very things that, you know, a lot of us want to feel free and open and loving, generous. But at the same time, in life, we might feel like we're struggling, we're fighting, we're holding on to things, we're coming against things, right? So that has a really different energy than the feeling of surrendering. And what I really want to share with you is my personal experience and how surrendering has actually become so powerful in my life. It has been in those key moments in my life where I really allowed a big part of the past, of a past trauma or a belief, where I actually let it go, where I actually allow myself to go to that fear and then rise up beyond it. And the key for me through that experience of facing my fears, of stepping into the unknown and actually feeling that I'm okay, I'm always going to be safe, everything's going to be alright, that actually happened through surrendering. So that's something that I really wish to give to you and share with you. And so I'm a Capricorn, I'm very driven. If I set my goal to something, I usually always get it. But the thing with that is that I can become very impatient, and I may start to resist things in my life that looks like it's not, you know, according to my plan. But so that can create a lot of resistance, that can form a lot of emotional turmoil within me, kind of described in our last video of how our resistance to change and our difficulty going through change actually is derived from, right? Our thoughts, our inner resistance. Now, there's another element to it, which is surrender. And a lot of the times we actually don't feel like that's an option for ourselves because we feel like we have to face something like a bull. We have to take it full on. We gotta, you know, go according to plan. We gotta, you know, take the right steps, prepare, all this type of thing. And that kind of almost limits what we're able to do. That almost limits how we see the world. And in some instances, for me, it was always better to surrender. And I'll show you what you mean. I had one of those moments where, you really believe your thoughts and you're really trapped by the mind. So I was really afraid. I was really afraid of the future. I was really afraid of the unknown, because there are parts of my business that I definitely have no control over. All I can do is give from my heart, give the best that I can, serve, create impact to the best of my abilities. But the rest of it, it's up to the universe to receive. It's up to you to watch, right? And so I was hitting this rough patch in my work where I felt really unsure, really insecure, and I was really afraid of what was coming up because I didn't know what was going to come up. And I was trying really hard to do all the right things to prepare for it, but deep down I knew that there was nothing really I could do to control the future or to know what to do exactly in this moment to prepare for the future. So that kind of just trapped me in my head, and I was really anxious about the future, really afraid. And now what happened was, usually my initial kind of reaction is to run away from it, right? Because it's not a nice feeling to be afraid, to be anxious. But in this moment, I actually chose to surrender to it. So what I did was actually allow myself to feel those emotions, that anxiety, that fear, that uncertainty, the insecurity. I actually allow myself to feel it all. And it was in that experience that I realized that I was okay. I could feel what was going on, and I was still there. I was still alright. Sure, it didn't feel so good, but it's okay. But this sensation within my body, when I breathe in and I really allow myself to feel what was happening within my body, emotionally, I kind of had to hit that really dark place of, oh my goodness, this is just consuming me. There's just so much here. I'm almost allowing all those emotions to wash over my body like a bath. Like I was taking a bath in my emotions, right? Where usually I would try to run away, that doesn't feel nice, I'm gonna leave it here, it's not my problem, hide, ignore it. But in this case, I was really facing it. I was facing it not in a hard kind of way. I was facing it by taking a bath in my emotions, letting it come, feeling it, and letting it pass through me. I was surrendering to the moment, to what was happening, and to what I was feeling. And now, I want to tell you one thing. What happened next was that the emotions, the feelings, all that turmoil within, it dropped away. Because I no longer had to fear anything. I faced it. I took a look at it. I felt it. It passed through me, these emotions, these fears, this anxiety of the future, of the unknown. I tried to imagine what the unknown would even look like, and it was kind of like in space where there's nothing to hold on to. There was no grounding. It was just me floating around, and that was really scary. I was like in the dark, and I just like didn't know where I was going. I didn't know where I was. But once I felt that, or even envisioned what it meant to be in the future, to be in the unknown, that was it. It was just those emotions, that visualization. There was nothing else there. It was all made up in my head. And the moment I surrendered to all of that, now, this surrendering is an experience. It's not something you do in 1 second and then it's over. It's an experience. You gotta kind of let yourself completely unfold, let yourself completely unravel in all of this. I'm not trying to grab onto anything for safety, right? So the moment I did that, I just felt so peaceful. Because those emotions I was trying to kind of get away from, that I thought was so awful and terrible, well, I felt it, and that was it. What else was there for me to fear and to be anxious about, right? And the idea of the unknown, that I didn't know anything, that I didn't know what was coming, that I wasn't prepared. Well, how did it feel like? I felt that. I was in space. I imagined that there was nothing I could grab onto. There was nothing that I knew. I was lost. And then I was lost. So I went through that experience. It was very intense. I'm laughing about it now. It was very intense. But the moment you kind of dive underneath all that junk, all those emotions, all those thoughts, all that anxiety, you rise above it by surrendering into it all, you realize, heck, that was it. That was everything I was really afraid of. I just felt that. Like, I felt it. So there's nothing that it can actually do to me anymore. There's nothing I'm resisting. There's nothing I'm running away from. There's nothing I'm trying to grab onto for safety, because what am I trying to save myself from? What am I trying to protect myself from when I'm running away from what's happening in real life or from within myself, right? What is it to fear? The moment I kind of went really deep, really fully surrendered to that experience, and I rise above it, naturally, this was nothing I was consciously doing. The moment all the emotions, everything just kind of passed by, I was free. I was free to be myself. I was free from all that emotional and mental baggage, literally just like that. I didn't have to do anything to make myself feel better, think positive thoughts, tap here and there, act like a monkey, whatever, tactics sometimes we do. And sometimes they do work, right? But in this case, all I did was live life, approach life full on, and allow what was happening to be felt. I didn't hide, because hide would actually require me to do something, right? To actually hide. I was just being. I was being with what's there. And to me, that is surrendering. Being with what is there, what is here. And not trying to resist, not trying to grab onto a certain idea, not clinging onto mental stories, just going with what life is kind of giving to you in that moment. And the moment that I allow all that to come, within, to be felt, then it was over. All that mess in my head that I was living in, it was all right. And the problems that I thought I had, like, oh, I don't know how to configure my business so it works this way and that, because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Is this right? Is this wrong? All of that just became it just became muted to the point where it seemed really insignificant, because the reality of things settle in. Like, those problems weren't big to begin with, right? They were just made up. But I was so consumed by it and trying to hide from it. So the more I hide from something, the bigger it gets, to the point where it was so overwhelming. It was really holding me down and bringing me down, right? But the moment that everything settled down, I felt it all, I surrendered to it all, the questions, the issues, the problems that I thought was there before, they seemed really minute. And I had such clarity that I was able to then take the next steps. Not to address all the problems that I thought I had, but to look at really the situation that nothing is really wrong here. And then I can really decide from a place of just genuine, this is what I want to do, versus I'm here to put out all the fires, this is what I want to do next. And so this is why I really wanted to share with you my version of surrendering, because it could be different than, what you think that term really means, or the definition that you had in mind before starting this video. But to me, it is the key through the toughest moments of my life, because the more I grab onto a certain idea of how things should be, if I resist the moment and what's happening, and especially if I resist myself, like how my body looks, the way I talk, the quirks I have, and everything about me, the harder life gets. So I've always found that surrendering to myself, surrendering to life, surrendering to even those bad feelings within, you just get peace in the end. At least I do. I really do. And when I lead my clients through this process of surrendering, what ends up happening is that we actually reach, as I mentioned, kind of like this place of clarity and this place of peace. And settling back into that true self, settling back into that our perspective is actually of everything versus sticking our heads into our problems and going like, okay, this is all I know, this is all I feel, and this is it, right? So surrendering allows us to step back and be with ourselves, be with life in a way that's really pleasurable, really peaceful, and just at ease. So for me, surrendering goes hand in hand with feeling at ease, feeling at peace, and it's a very beautiful thing. And there's a lot of strength in that. So that's why in the next video, I'm going to carry on talking about surrendering, because if this is something new to you, it could be a really beautiful thing for you to experience, especially when surrendering opens you up to new parts of yourself. And that is a beautiful, really natural way for us to redefine womanhood, to redefine what is important to us in life, our priorities, and what it is that we really wish to do next in life, right? So when we surrender, we actually open ourselves up much more, and we stop fighting with life, we stop fighting with ourselves, and we stop fighting with what's happening. So this is a wonderful topic. It's actually the basis of pretty much the work that I do. But I don't say that, oh, I'm Natasha, I'm from the feminine space, and what I do is help women to surrender, because that doesn't make a lot of sense until you're ready to actually feel it for yourself, because it's not a word, it's not a concept, it's an experience. So that's why I wanted to share with you my personal experience of surrendering. And there are many more, trust me, there are so many more, because I know that in really tough moments in my life, I surrendered and it just made everything okay. So I know that sometimes life can seem really hard and that struggle is there, and that's why I find it so important to kind of share with you this message and to share with you where I'm coming from when I'm talking about surrendering. So I'm going to keep passing that power to you, this power to surrender, and I'll cover how we can do that, what to expect for yourself, and the impact that it actually could create for you in your life in the next video. So that'll be day 10. Oh my goodness, we're already a third through the Redefining Womanhood series. So until then, and make sure to like and subscribe this video if you really enjoyed it, if it sparked something new or even tickled something within you that you already know. But if you felt like your true self or that beautiful you there is awakening, it's kind of tuning into this, then good for you. And I'd love to hear what you've experienced, what your experiences are of surrendering. Maybe you resist it, maybe you hate it, maybe you love it, maybe you don't know what it is. It's all okay. So just comment below, let me know how you're getting along. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow for the next video on surrendering. Yes, another one. So until then, and have a really good one. Bye!